Alright guys, so we are approaching the end of the 2.2 version update. Now Shorekeeper's rerun banner just got released. The best support in the entire game will be available for a very limited time, since the second phase of this update is lasting for less than 2 weeks, which means the release of our anniversary headlining character ZANI, looking like a really strong spectral main damage dealer, is coming out much sooner than expected. And I'm sure with all the hype surrounding her, a lot of players want to get ready for ZANI, as it sounds crazy to say, she is already coming out on April 28th, which leaves us about 10 days. So in this video, I'll be going over all you need to prepare for this hype character, with all the materials required to fully upgrade her, her best echo builds, all her viable weapons, her best teammates, and we can also talk about the value of this character should you be summoning for her. But let's be honest, I'm sure we are all pulling for ZANI anyway, so I'll be telling you guys the best pre-farm guide for her in this video. And also, if you guys want to be kept updated on everything WUWA, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and put those notifications on. I got you guys covered with all the latest WUWA news. But alright, let's get right into it. Starting off with the materials you will need to farm for ZANI. The first thing you will need for the Ascension materials will be all the following polygon cores. You can obtain these from the forgery challenges. You will also need 60 of the Sword Acuris flowers obtainable from the Overworld collection and can be bought in the Rosemary Apothecary. And lastly, to ascend ZANI, you will then need 46 of the Platinum cores from farming the Century Construct boss. And with using 170,000 shell credit, you will now be able to ascend your ZANI to max level right away. Now to go over all the level up materials for the talents, you will still need to farm the forgery challenges for more polygon cores and to also obtain the cadence seeds. Lastly, the weekly boss material needed to max out her talents will be farmable from the Hecate boss. Those will be all the materials needed to fully ascend and upgrade her talents to max level. Now moving on to the best echo build for ZANI. Now when it comes to her echo build, there isn't much variety, as you'd simply want to use her best in slot, which is going to be the Eternal Radiance set, and you preferably want to have the full 5-piece bonus activated. So for what this set does, the 2-piece gives spectral damage plus 10%, and then the 5-piece effect that makes this set so good is inflicting spectral frazzle on enemies, increasing her crit rate by 20% for 15 seconds, and then attacking enemies inflicted with 10 stacks of the spectral frazzle will then grant a extra 15% spectral damage bonus for 15 seconds, giving you a total of 25% spectral damage and that 20% crit rate from the echo set alone, which will be crazy on ZANI, allowing her to do much more damage, and the free crit rate adding much comfort for building your echoes. So with this set being your best option, this means you can do the 4-3-3-1-1 build with the Nightmare Morning Aches 4 cost, granting her a spectral damage bonus. But if you want a decent alternative, would be the main slot Capitanis, as this will give you buffs to her heavy attack, which is exactly what she scales on the most. These two are pretty good options, but all that to say is we could be expecting a tailor-made 4-cost echo for ZANI to come out in the 2.3 update, so if you're really not in a rush, I'd suggest waiting on farming the main slot echo. And I can also mention, if you really don't have any good sets of the Eternal Radiance, the old Spectral set called Celestial Light can still work just fine as well, giving her a 40% spectral damage after you use the intro skill. But when it comes to an endgame build, the Eternal Radiance set is the best option. Alright, now we talked about the best builds. What about the main stats and substats? So the main stat you want to prioritize on the 4 cost will be between crit rate and crit damage. This is depending on the weapon choice and what you need the most. And now for both the 3 cost echoes can be either spectral damage or attack percent, with the 1 cost simply being attack percent. Now moving on to the substats. For the substats that you want to prioritize, ZANI being a main DPS, you want as much crit rate and crit damage above all else. And if you're lucky enough, you can have heavy attack damage bonus, attack percent, and energy regeneration would also be very useful on her. If you have a Echo with all 5 of these, I would recommend buying a lottery ticket. But alright, now moving on to the viable weapons for ZANI. Her being a gauntlet main DPS has surprisingly a few good options. The best one is of course her signature weapon, providing her a main stat of 48% crit damage, and the effect here is increasing her attack by 12%, and when she does the ultimate, her damage will then ignore 8% of the target's defense and amplify Spectral Frazzle by 50% for 14 seconds, adding a ton of extra damage. While this being her best in slot option, no worries if you don't have the funds to pull it, because if you pulled any of the previous limited weapons like the Tragic Comedy or the Verity's Handle, these could also be very good options for her, with both having crit rate main stats. The Tragic Comedy being a very solid option as it provides exactly what she needs with a 48% heavy attack damage bonus and has quite a high uptime, which is pretty good. And the Verity's Handle, still a good options just from the stats and the main stat alone. The effect here providing a lot of ultimate damage, not as good as the heavy attack, but still it's going to help her with her overall DPS, which makes it a solid choice. And while you aren't required to have any of the limited weapons, you can also even use the Abyss Surges or the Stonard, and she will still work just fine. Alright, now let's talk about the teams. What are the best teams for ZANI? Her best teammates. ZANI, being a main Spectral DPS, is of course gonna want other Spectral buffing teammates, or teammates that can provide her with heavy attack buffs. And from what we saw in the full kit breakdown video, we saw that ZANI's damage is also scaling off of Spectral Frazzle stacks, which will make characters like Phoebe and Spectral Rover her best teammates, allowing a bunch of Spectral Frazzle stacks to be activated. And the great thing about both of these characters is their kits allow for more uptime on the Spectral Frazzle stacks, leading to ZANI doing a lot of more damage. So both Phoebe and Rover will have amazing synergy. The premium team would look like ZANI as the main DPS, Shorekeeper as the support as she provides such amazing buffs with the crit rate, crit damage, healing, and damage. And then this also leaves the sub DPS slot open to Phoebe, which is basically ZANI's best partner. So these two are going to have amazing synergy together, possibly making the best team in the entire game. But if you don't have Phoebe yet, don't worry, you can always simply use the Spectral Rover. They will also have pretty good synergy, and it's a good free-to-play option at the same time. And also, as previously mentioned, ZANI scales a lot on heavy attack, which is why Mortefi can be a solid choice to run alongside her, because his outro skill, providing a huge 38% heavy attack buff, and still currently the only resonator to be able to provide such heavy attack buffs in the game, especially with the outro, which leads to a lot of solid, more free-to-play friendly teams with ZANI as the main DPS, Mortefi, the sub DPS, and Spectral Rover as the support, helping from constantly applying Spectral Frazzle. But of course, in the end, ZANI and Phoebe will be the almighty duo, and it's why we can expect a Phoebe rerun to be coming out quite soon. It's why we saw in our roadmaps that Phoebe might be coming out in 2.3 update, or maybe right after. We will see. We should get confirmation in the live stream, but ZANI's value might be one of the highest in the game, considering she is a very free-to-play friendly unit that also doesn't require massive team investment and is looking to be one of the highest DPS characters in the entire game on release. Not to mention her amazing design, so she's definitely worth going for, but I bet if you clicked on this video, you were gonna pull ZANI anyway. This pretty much concludes all you need to know on how to pre-farm and prepare for ZANI in Wuthering Waves. The 2.3 banners looking pretty hype. You guys let me know down below what are your plans going into this update, if you'll be pulling for ZANI or another character. This pretty much concludes all the info for this video, so if you guys enjoyed, like the video, subscribe, and put those notifications on. Plenty more updates on the way. That is all for this one. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.